Hi there, Glocal citizens. Welcome back to the podcast that inspires a borderless mindset around manifesting a new world. I'm Florence Adu, your host, and I'm so honored to have my guest that's with me for this episode. It's really a great opportunity. I think you'll really enjoy it. And so let me give you a little bit of background. He is a real estate mogul with over 30 years proven experience in the industry. He is the founder and CEO of TAF Africa Global, a Pan-African real estate company that has built homes across 8 African countries with dominance in Nigeria and The Gambia. Growing up from a small and humble background, when he founded TAF Africa Global in 1990, the goal was to be the leading property developer in Africa. In 2018, TAF redefined its vision as its mission to develop 1 million quality homes between 2018 and 2038. 3 years in, I'm sure you all are excited, and as excited as I am, to find out how it's going. Mr. Mustapha Njie, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Florence. It's a pleasure to be on your program, and I'm all set and ready for your questions.
Okay, wonderful. And I just want to make a note. This is so exciting to me because my other life outside of my life in Ghana is in real estate. I do real estate project management. My family's been in real estate for most of my life. So it's really nice to kind of meet someone who is at the height of that game. So with that in mind, tell us where you're from, where you are local, and what is your craft?
My name is, I started in the Gambia. I'm a Gambian, born 64 years ago, educated in the Gambia, trained in the Gambia, worked for about 15 years of my life before I started my own business. So I'm Gambian, but these days I answer to be an African.
Okay. And so where you're local then is in Gambia, it's all over Africa. Where do you call home now, presently?
Home is always Gambia. Home is always Gambia.
Okay.
For example, when there's celebrations, when there's feast, I go home. I mean, my family is still at home. You know, my wife is there. But if you ask me, let's say for the whole year, where do I stay? I mean, I stay probably about a third of my time in the Gambia. 2/3 probably I'm outside the Gambia.
Okay, got it. And so to get a little bit more detailed about your craft, we know you're a real estate mogul. So what would you say is your craft?
My craft, I would say I'm a builder. I mean, I don't know whether you know, but I started my life as more like a carpenter. I mean, my background and my passion came from, picking up woodwork at school, at high school, and being very passionate about it. And one thing that helped me in my life, that I had no complex, no inferiority complex over my passion, which was carpentry, working with my hands. So those days at high school, I mean, I decided to take it up as a career. I could have gone into university and taken up some white-collar training, but that's what I just developed. So at a very early age, I picked up a job, first to teach in the Gambia, in the school that I was trained, after my O levels. So I only had about 3 months break. I mean, after high school with my O levels, then in September, I was employed as a junior teacher in the same school. So that's how my working career started to date. So from teaching for about a year and a half, I then got employed by an international construction firm as an engineer's assistant. Okay. And that's just how I went in for about another 13 years or so, or 14 years before I started my business. So everything in construction, I just picked it up.
Yeah. So do you think that young people today can follow that path any longer?
Well, I think they should. It's difficult for them because society doesn't allow them to do it. I mean, just imagine parents, who would allow your kids, after high school, he says, well, mommy or daddy, look, I'm not going to go into tertiary education, but I'm going to be a carpenter, and actually I fought hard to convince my parents that this is what I wanted to do.
So even then,
because you see, the problem is that anybody who was skillful in these things and wanted to take it up as a craft or as a trade I mean, you were seen to be somebody who had failed in your education.
Right.
I mean, those who did all this craft or skills were seen to be, not successful in their education. So the choice you had was to go and pick up a trade. And that is why probably more in Anglophone Africa, you hardly find good tradesmen. In French Africa is different in the Francophone, because they're quite proud of their skills. And that is why everywhere in West Africa, you will find that the best of tradesmen are from the Francophonie.
It's very true. And so what do you think is that issue? Is it that it's the British education system? Like, what is the influence that has created that rift and essentially a gap? Because we do have a very huge gap in skilled trades workers.
Yeah, I think it's the British educational system that we inherited, and we don't want to change. I think, even up to now, I am a very strong advocate that we need to change our curriculum.
Yes,
I agree. There's money in these skills. There's money in it. Today, if you look at what good carpenters earn or good mechanics, they earn good money.
Yes.
So you are guaranteed of a skill. You don't have to pick up a job. You can work on your own, Right. But it's just the society that's been looking down on these things, and it has to change. And that can be done at a policy level. I mean, we need to have very strong leadership that will be bold enough to change our policies. I don't know about in other West African countries, but I have done some studies in Gambia, for example. In Gambia, probably about 10% of those who go to school will end up being qualified to go into university, or even less. So really, you have to ask yourself now, the 90-something%, where are they? And they are more or less semi-educated. Being educated to the level of, let's say, high school these days doesn't learn you any job. So really, my own view is that we need to pick up these kids at a very young age, say around the age of 14 or so, and then get them to pick up a craft or a skill. Right. So anywhere they go, they can earn a living.
Yes.
But that's bold leadership. Right? And, I am an advocate that, look, these days we see in West Africa that quite a number of our young people die in the Mediterranean, trying to go into Europe because they don't have hopes, of having a job. But if you train them to be skilled, even if they succeed in going across to Europe or anywhere, they'll pick up good work. Or they can even be exported. We see this quite often. For example, in Qatar, when they were building all the stadiums for the World Cup that's going to come, they imported skills.
Yes.
So imagine if we had, tons of young Africans who are skillful. You can export them and they will be earning hard currency.
Right.
So across the continent, we really need to train our young ones into some craft or some skills.
Yes. And I would even say, to your point about the idea that only 10% are qualified to really be successful in, higher education or in a workforce, that it starts well before the vocational training stage, because what we have is semi-literate people, and this is my own, flag that I wave all the time, because in the education systems that they're learning in a foreign language. So if you are coming from speaking Wolof or a Gan language, Twi, Ga, Fanti, Igbo, any of those, and you are going into the educational system, there are policies that have been enacted, but they're somewhat loosely implemented because there are not even teachers who can teach in the local language to a level of proficiency for reading and writing for those students. So I agree with you that bold leadership is necessary, but we know that the leadership is failing. So how then do we push the dial on exacting better outcomes from the leadership class?
Well, it takes a lot of advocacy, especially those of us who are at in the employment end.
Yes.
Because without the supply of skills, we will fail. And that's what's been happening. What people like us are doing now is training them. I have a training center. I have a foundation. So in my foundation, one of the things I do is skills training. So I look at the young people that I engage and, pay them stipends and train them up, thinking that, look, when they're qualified, I have a job to offer them, so they're not idling. But I think it needs more concerted efforts. We need to really lobby our policymakers, because this cannot be done alone or in any small scale. We need to address it at a policy level, at a country level.
Sure.
You know, that look, change your curriculum. It's not working. Change it. It has to change. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So we'll be waving that flag for sure. So tell me, in terms of employment and economics, how many workers, in terms of getting to your million homes? I want to ask I'll divert and ask a little bit more about how you're getting there. But from a worker's perspective, how many jobs do you see that creating?
25 million jobs.
Wow. Wow.
Over 20 years. Because look, for every house that we build affordable homes. We're building homes between the size of 50 square meters to a maximum of 130 square meters.
Okay.
Now, these homes are very simple. I mean, there's nothing difficult about them. So I've worked it out that on average, you create 25 direct jobs for every house.
Okay.
So if you build 1 million homes, is 1 million by 25, which is 25 million jobs that you're creating.
Sure. And then in terms of your training and your capacity to train at this point, about how many graduates do you have coming through your training programs?
Well, we haven't had much, and I would think probably we started quite early. Lately. Yeah, so we don't have much really. It's nothing significant. For example, now we're running a masonry apprenticeship program, which is we have about 25 masons that we're training.
Okay.
You know, but we have interns that come through us also, from the main technical institutes.
Right. But it's baby steps. So it's the idea that you're working through the curriculum, you're working through the process so that you then know how to scale and potentially, and this is in the Gambia that you're starting.
Yes, in the Gambia, yeah.
Okay. And so obviously Nigeria will be next because that's your biggest market currently.
Yeah, but in Nigeria, what we did was informally we trained some of the community here as contractors. But it's not informal. We trained them, and today, they are working with us as community contractors.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So nothing as programmed, nothing as structured like what we're doing now. But we have had a success over the past 5-6 years of our community members that we have trained to be contractors. Because let's face it, Florence, it's not difficult to lay a block. It's not difficult to lay a block, especially if you're making money out of it.
Yes.
If you seriously take, let's say, a young man, to work, intensively for about 6 months or so, you can leave him on his own to lay a block. And then as he practices, he will be perfect.
Yes, right. Exactly. I mean, masons are becoming the highest demand I've seen in my experience in Ghana as well. Between masons and electricians in the construction space, they're high demand and good ones are hard to come by. So the idea that you're training them, particularly on your specific building techniques and those that can be transferable to other projects is very commendable.
Yeah. I mean, apart from masonry, even the finishes of the work. For example, the POP, the plaster of Paris. That's most. You need more skills for that, and they charge an arm and a leg for it. Tiling. You make big money out of these things. So plumbing, the same thing. Electrical. So you just need to showcase the success stories and probably what they are earning to encourage other young ones to come on board.
Right. So speaking about earnings, you mentioned that you build affordable housing. And I've heard in some of your conversations that, affordable is based on the design to some extent and the quality of goods that you install. But generally speaking, looking at the average income of the communities where you're building or where you're looking to attract, what actually is affordable from a dollars and cents perspective?
I think affordable comes from about $20,000.
Okay.
Anything below $20,000 is social. I hope you know the difference between social and affordable.
Yes.
Yeah. So for us, we play in the affordable zone. So therefore, anything less than 20 for us is not doable.
Yes, I get it.
So $20,000 going up, and then we cap it about a bracket of up to about maybe $50,000-$60,000, depending on the size, the type of finish. But anything more than that, we don't play in that bracket.
Okay. So then, of course, these are what is a new tool in Pan-African Africa to some extent is mortgages. So you've partnered with a few institutions. I'm assuming these are the regional banks that do have a presence in each of the countries that you're in. So how was that process of attracting them to partner with you and to just facilitate the mortgages for your properties?
Well, yes, some of them are regional banks, like GT, EcoBank. We also have a local bank, a strong local bank who's on board.
Oh,
And
okay.
because they are liquid, when they have a lot of liquidity, then they will talk to you. Because banks
Okay.
in Africa in general, or
Yeah.
in Anglophone Africa, they lend to government because
Yes.
government never default. So they sit on treasury bills. So when treasury bills go down, when the returns are very low, they have to be innovative and lend out probably to the private sector. So we approached them, and then now they are blending out to short and medium term on mortgages, up to about
Okay.
10 years. 10 years
Right.
is really medium. We haven't,
Yes.
I mean, that is better than nothing, but,
Yeah.
it's okay. And we've got them to be lending out at about 9% per annum interest rate on hard
Okay.
currency
Okay.
and then about 13-15% on local currency, which is not bad. It's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's
So,
better than nothing. Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, it's innovative. We've engaged them. We've challenged them to get into this. The reason probably they're going with us is because we have also our reputation behind us. Because you have to remember also the supply need to be right. Because when you get into mortgages, you should be assured that the contractor also delivers, the developer also delivers. And when he delivers, also he delivers quality. So it takes a lot of efforts to bring a package like this done.
Sure. So speaking of partnerships, public-private partnerships. So quite a few of your projects were facilitated by the ability to secure land from the government. And so when you are in the process or working these out, and I ask this in the context of if a government came to you and wanted you to do social housing, is that something that you would consider?
Oh yeah, we will.
Okay.
Actually, I just came from a West African country which is francophone, and I look at their policy on social housing, and what they're doing is right. What they have done is they had some funds. Government, the central bank, took some funds and lent it out to the commercial banks at 2% interest rate per annum. And then they are now asked to, the central banks, the commercial banks are now asked to give out mortgages at 6%. So they make 4% out of it. So, and that's for social housing. Then the land is also given by government. So that's at no cost to the contract. And then there are other incentives. I mean, like duty free, tax free, whatever. But once you do that, then you pay the price of the house. You can control it.
Sure.
And yes, for us, we are more than happy to get into social housing if you have all those right and the volumes are there. Because social housing, you can only do it when you have the volumes. It's like mass production. So we are very interested if any government wants to approach us on those bases where they will lend out both mortgages and construction finance at very low rates, provide the land, give incentives, and also offtakes. We want to be assured. For example, if a government comes to us and say, "Look, we have 10,000 houses that we want to deliver." And yes, we'll pay you for every 100 or 200 that you complete. Then I'll go on a huge mass production, knowing very well that my cash flow is okay. I mean, as soon as I deliver the houses, within a stipulated time, monies will be paid. Then I can turn it around again.
Yeah.
So it takes there are a lot of things that you have to put in place to be successful in delivering, social houses.
So would you say their scheme is the most innovative that you've seen to date for this?
So far, yes. Yes, definitely. I mean, it hasn't been tested. And then what they've done, they've set up a home finance institution.
Okay.
So what they do, I mean, they don't actually lend you the money, but they do all the pre-qualification. You go and register with them, they vet you, and they will say, okay, fine, we have number of people who are qualified for a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a basket of clients that are waiting. Mm-hmm. For example, in this specific country, they've told me that, look, we have 12,000 applicants and 8,000 of them are qualified for a mortgage between $20,000 and $30,000. Mm-hmm. So the offtake is there.
Yeah.
Right. So now, if they can bring in the land and then obviously bring in some affordable construction finance, then now that's my business now to now mobilize and make sure I feed and supply.
Sure. And of course, it's all related. You know, the more jobs that an economy has and has capacity to have, the better it is, the more infrastructure jobs that there are. So it's all, you know, mixed together in that sense. So I have a question that I always ask, and it's why the where. So it's typically about how you came to be living and working and playing where you are. But I want to focus it a little bit more on why the where in terms of the countries that you've selected to start in.
Well, I started in the Gambia naturally because that's where I was born. But Nigeria has always been my target. The reason being, it is the giant in West Africa. I mean, half of the population of West Africa is Nigeria. And it's English speaking. The laws are more or less the same as the Gambia. You know, if I were to go into the Francophone countries, it would have been difficult. Language barrier, things are not the same. Mm-hmm. But I can easily operate in Ghana, in Nigeria, you know, Liberia, Sierra Leone, because they are all English speaking. But I always tell people that, look, if I go hunting, why should I go after a rabbit when there's an elephant? Yeah. You know, so if I'm looking for meat, I mean, I better go for the elephant.
Yeah,
and you also need to know about Nigeria. Nigeria is comprised of 36 states. And every state is a country. Mm-hmm. You know, so you have great opportunities here.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So that's why, you know, I targeted Nigeria, and then destiny brought me here too. So when I got the opportunity, I grabbed it.
Okay, got it. So then, but you are operating in some Francophone countries. So how did that then materialize?
Well, I am registered. I tried to operate in Senegal. Senegal is the closest that I've operated in. Mm-hmm. And Mali, I also tried to operate. It was tough, so I had to close shop.
Okay.
For me, in the Francophonie, they are too bureaucratic. They are too bureaucratic. It's very difficult to operate. If you ask me, for me, the best place to do business is Nigeria. From my experience. Whereas everybody says, no. But for me, the best place for me, as an English-speaking guy, you know, is Nigeria. But the Francophone is the most difficult place I can do any business. They are too bureaucratic, too many red tapes.
Sure. Yeah. And that's, again, a vestige of their colonial past, I'm assuming.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, a strong one.
So, yeah.
Okay. So take us a little bit deeper into life in the Gambia. I want to know what you hear. So I have this question that I asked. It's called Glocal speak. So give us a word or saying or a phrase that's part of your everyday life that's a very Gambian phrase.
Freestyle. Yeah. Okay. We're very informal. I mean, in Gambia, we are very informal. In Gambia, you know, we're not materialistic. Sure. So if you came to Gambia and you meet me, you will not differentiate me with somebody probably at the very lower base of the ladder. We don't have class structures in Gambia.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, we don't have class structures. I mean, I can walk in the street in my hood and, you know, you will not know who I am.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, and that's very Gambian. So I mean, before there was a slogan in the Gambia where we say, Gambia, no problem. So there's nothing that is a problem in the Gambia. Now we're branded as the smiling coast of Africa. Because everybody smiles. We happy-go-lucky, you know, and that's why we do so well in tourism.
Yes,
you know, that's why we have so many, you know, Europeans that are coming in, and once they come in, they fall in love with the place. The next thing you know, they buy a property, they move over, peaceful, but we are very humble. I mean, at times, people, when they mingle with me here in Nigeria or elsewhere, I mean, they pick this up and they think it's me. And I try to explain to them that, no, it's not me. I'm just Gambian. That's who we are.
Yeah.
I mean, in other countries, you go there, somebody's looking at the watch you're wearing, with the shirt you're putting on. It's a designer stuff, the car you're driving. For us Gambians, a car is a car. So, so what's the big deal?
Right.
Right. We're not conscious of these things. I mean, our life rotates around humility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. I'm very excited. I have one of my close friends is from the Gambia. So I've been trying to get there when she's getting there next. So I'm definitely planning to visit, especially after. And I hear the beaches are beautiful, and I'm a beach girl. So most definitely.
Yeah. It's lovely. It's lovely. The beaches I go on the beach every day.
Yeah.
On the beach every day. Yeah. It's lovely. Lovely beaches we have. And the people are beautiful. The people are lovely. I am really proud to be a Gambian.
Nice. Wonderful. So I want to ask you, knowing that you've kind of turned this corner in your career where you've been the mogul, you've done everything. And I know that you said it's difficult for you to retire, but you're pivoting a bit in terms of who you are and how you are approaching the next phase of your life. So tell us more about your next quarter.
The last quarter, which I call the departure lounge.
Yes.
Did you heard about the 4 quadrants of life?
Yeah, so please tell my listeners, share that with us.
Yeah, well, the 4 quadrants of life, for me, my philosophy in life, it's divided into 4 quadrants, and that says life is real. And real stands for R for reliance, E for execution, A for actualization, and L for legacy.
Okay.
So, and it's divided. I'm looking at 80 years. Anybody who's 80, I think you should be thankful to God that you've reached that age. And after 80, really, you are no more part of the equation.
Okay.
The equation of life. So the first 20, really, it's a reliance. Whatever you do, you rely on people, your parents, your guardians, government, whatever. I mean, just think about it from 0 to 20. I mean, you are not independent. You don't do things for yourself. So that's the bracket, the quadrant that I call it. It's a reliance quadrant, where you rely on people on your life. Then quadrant number 2 is actualization. I mean, that's when you enter life. That's the time you start a family. That's the time you start a job. That's the time, whatever you're starting, a business, so between the ages of 20 and 40, that's the time you start it. Now, most people don't succeed in that quadrant. But there are values that you should have. Work hard, you should be honest. Your integrity must be preserved. Now, then you move into the 3rd quadrant, which is actualization. Things need to happen. It's a make or break it. Most likely, if you fail between the ages of 20 and 60, it's difficult to pick it up again. Yes. I'm not saying that you won't, so you need to actualize. Things need to happen. Then the last quadrant, which I find myself between 60 and 80, it's your legacy. You look back on what you have done and say, look, this is what I want to be remembered for. So, and then number 2, I always tell people, okay, you've committed so much sins in this world, that's the time that you repent. Spend more time with your God, more prayers, you are more remorseful and, more godly. So for me, those are the 2 most important things. My legacy, really, it's not on anything material. I don't want to be remembered for the houses I build. I don't want to be remembered for any wealth I leave behind. But I want to be remembered for the lives that I've impacted. And that's what I work on now. And apart from anything else, I enjoy it. I have a passion for it. I have a passion for leaving a legacy where I am impacting the lives of people. And the bracket that I have chosen is the youthful bracket. I have a foundation, a foundation where I work on youth empowerment. And the bracket that I target is between the ages of 18 and 30. Okay. Now, in this foundation, there are 7 different initiatives. I host, this foundation is called TAF Africa Foundation. And I host, yes, and then there's a website for it. TAF Africa, if you search it, you will see the different initiatives we have. The main initiative is TAFCon. We've hosted TAFCon for about 5 years now, where we bring in all members of society together to discuss issues of national interest. So that's TAFCon. I mean, we had even the president attended. We've had Mrs. Fatou Bensouda, who's just retiring as the chief prosecutor in The Hague, in the ICC, the International Criminal Court of Justice. She was a guest speaker. So we look at Gambians, very prominent Gambians who come in as guest speakers, and then have some very good dialogue across the board in Gambian society. So that's TAFCon. I have TAF Startups. TAF Startups, I create a competition where there's a star prize of $20,000 for the winner, $10,000 for the first runner-up. Second runner-up gets $5,000. And then there are consolation prizes for the other 7 finalists. Then I have the TAF Leadership Academy. Leadership for me in Africa needs to be addressed. If there's anything that we need to address in Africa, it's leadership. So rather than just complaining about our leaders, I thought I should invest in our future leaders. So we have an academy where we lecture, we teach these young ones who are mainly in tertiary institutions on 12 key values of leadership. And quickly, the acronym for it is ICE FADE-CHIP. ICE-FADE-CCHIP. Now, representing I for integrity, C for commitment, E for empathy, F for futuristic vision, A for accountability, D for decision making, E for empowerment, C for good communication, another C for commitment, H for honesty, I for innovation, and P for passion.
Okay.
So what I do is I bring in, credible Gambians, men and women of high integrity, who should be seen as role models, and they give a lecture to these students. I first started about 3 years ago. The first cohort was 50. The second cohort, we were overwhelmed, and we tripled the number to 152. They were recently just graduated. Now, I've just opened up the third cohort, and guess the applicants, 1,600.
I'm sure.
So, we're finding a way to scale up because these kids need to be taught these basic values of life.
Right. Exactly.
At our age, the way we were brought up with our parents and our guardians, making sure that these were inculcated in us. But society has changed, and we are missing this. So that's the TAF Leadership Academy. We also have the TAF Icon. The TAF Icon is we look at a Gambian around the age of 70 who's retired, who has done so much but not recognized. So we recognize him or her and then give him or her an accolade, celebrate her. Then we have the Club 10. Club 10 is a network of TAF Enterprise Network. So we get young entrepreneurs and we network amongst ourselves. By the way, I'm called the Youthman because I classify myself as a youth.
Okay.
Then the last one is the Gambia Disability Trust Fund. We look at the disabled and also empower them by giving them seed money for business. Okay. So this is what my foundation is about. And we fund it. We don't look out for funding. Okay. Because in Africa today, you'll find that most of these NGOs or initiatives like this are being funded internationally. Right. So I am saying, no, I am African. I am Gambian. I'm going to put my own money where my mouth is. Right. So it's 100% being funded by my business. Okay. So I've committed 1% of my company's revenue into my foundation. Okay. So yes, this is what in my last quadrant that I enjoy. I love it. I love doing this. And I'm thinking day in, day out, just how to scale up. And also try to influence others who will emulate what we're doing so that we can change the narratives.
Right, exactly. And so the question I have for specifically going back to leadership and ensuring that we have prepared young people to move into those spaces, I'm a big science fiction reader, and I recently read, as part of a trilogy, one of the storylines was that there were a group of elders that were focused on grooming leaders. It's kind of a secret society type of thing, where you didn't know who they were. They were just kind of this mysterious group, but they were kind of luminaries secretly, and they were grooming these people to do this. So, in the theme of that, who would you, if you were to put together an all-star team of mentors for an emerging leader, so someone who you see as being a president in 20 years, what 5 people would that team be made of?
Well, whoever they are, they have to have certain qualities.
Okay.
That's what you look for. I mean, regardless of who it may be, what do you look for? You look for values.
Okay.
What are the values that he or she has to make him a good leader or her a good leader? And that's what I prophesy. That look, because quite a number of people, like the youth, are claiming, oh, no, it's our turn. Not too young to lead. But it's not too old to lead also. A very good example is Malaysia. What happened to Mahathir Mohamad? He came back at the age of over 90 years. And he did well. So leadership is not about age, it's not about gender, it's not about tribe, it's not about creed. Leadership is about values. What value do you carry to lead? And I think for me, those values that I listed, if you have those values, you will be an excellent leader. If you don't have everything, at least have some of those values in order to be able to lead.
I love that you put honesty as one of your key features as well. And so as a value and honesty, how do you ensure that that is how you're operating in all of your business dealings? Because you are in a space that is rife with corruption, potentially. There are so many opportunities along the vertical for things to go sideways. And so how do you ensure that there's always this level of honesty that your team is dealing with?
You know what led me to doing real estate development, private real estate development? It's honesty. I mean, not wanting to, because I used to get involved in contemporary conventional construction bidding.
Yes.
And I couldn't stand it. Because you know the game. There's all the time something on the table. So I decided, no, I cannot do this. And this was way back in 1996. That was the last time I bidded for a job. Even now, anybody who calls me for a bid, they don't invite me for a bid. I said, no, I'm sorry, I don't bid. I have something I can offer, so I only negotiate. If you want my houses, if you want this, I can do this. Not many can do it.
Got it.
So you must be very strong on your beliefs. So in order to do this, there are certain things that you must do. That's number one. For example, I was making a presentation in another African country who invited me. The first thing I did was, a pool of public servants and the ministers were all there. First thing I said, please, I don't encourage corruption. If anybody is in here thinking that he needs to get something out of this, I'm sorry. Let me pack my bags and leave. So they get the message from day one.
Sure.
I say, if we do it right, you will benefit, because we'll provide so many affordable housing that you will benefit, and your own close ones will benefit. Everybody will benefit.
Yeah.
But you also need to practice. You need to develop a team that believes in these things. Because honesty is in every relationship that you enter in your life. So you don't preach one and then do the other. For example, I mean, looking again on corruption and dishonesty in Africa, you cannot have somebody at the very top of the society, mainly in political life, doing all the corruption, and then you have an orderly who is a policeman or an officer who sees everything that goes around, and you expect him to be honest. That's not possible. They are the ones that, if there are any big bags of cash that are going, you will never carry it yourself. They are the ones who carry it. So what message are you sending? Right. So it must be practice.
Yeah.
And at times it can be tough. But once you get there and you are branded, that's the easiest thing you can have in life. I will tell you, for example, here in River State, we have moved from one one governor to the other, meaning from one party.
Yes.
When we first signed our PPP, it was with one party and the governor who was sitting. Now it's somebody different who's more or less in the opposing party. But the business is still ongoing. Reason being that everything we did was very transparent, off board. So there was nowhere that you can find any iota of corruption that happened. So we're still operating. And that's one thing, it takes two to tango.
Yes.
Corruption can only happen in Africa between businessmen and politicians.
Sure.
So really, if we, the businessmen, say, no, we are not going to approach and corrupt you, then it will stop. But we cannot be saying that the politicians are corrupt, whilst we are the ones who engage in it on the other hand.
Right.
So it takes two to tango, and you have whatever you are preaching, you need to practice it at every level, Every level.
Yeah. So, a lot of governments and, globally people have been thinking, well, how do we fight corruption? Like, what are the tools, the techniques? I mean, you yourself have made your own determination, but what are some of the systematic tools or techniques that you might suggest to counter this? Because ultimately it's about greed. It's about cutting corners and about greed. So, you pay off because you want to get this project and you may not necessarily have the skills, or you do have the skills and you want to ensure that you get it because ultimately it's about, making money or what have you. So what are some of your thoughts on anti-corruption?
Look, we need to look at what are the things that have been successful in Africa? What have we done successful in Africa? One of them is sports. Today, if you look at the teams in Africa, I mean, in football, for example, they compete at the global level.
Yeah.
Why? Because they have gone down to a very early stage of this sportsman's life and trained them and coached them to play football the way it is played all over the world and scientifically. So what's his name? Sadio Mane, that plays for Liverpool, comes from Senegal in one village.
Yeah.
But why is he playing so well in the Premier League in the UK? Because at a very early age, he was sent into a football academy and trained the right ways of playing football. So if we want to wipe out corruption, we need to go down to that age, those kids that are going to school, and teach them that, look, you don't have to do this. Because, look, if you are being brought up by parents that are corrupt, your teachers that are corrupt, something goes for the school so you think it's the norm.
Exactly. That's it.
That's what That's it. So we need to, honestly, and that can only happen in Africa with luck, where you have a leader who's determined to change things and he builds a team that believes in this thing. And then it is now taken through the system. Because some of the things that we are seeing now in Africa, it wasn't like this some 30, 40, 50 years ago. Our founding fathers were not like this. They were not as greedy as some of the leaders that we see today. Some of them, you look at their accounts, they never, by the time they retired, they would hardly run their lives. Today, you go into political office. One term on 4 years, you're being called a billionaire.
Exactly.
So, and then people adore you. They fly private jets. They have mansions. Where have you made the money? And you expect these kids to do otherwise? So the only way to solve it is to make sure we teach these things to the young ones that are coming.
Right. Yeah.
Good values of leadership. So, and one of them is honesty. That you should be proud to be honest. You should be contented. At times, Florence, it doesn't make sense. It simply doesn't make sense the amount of wealth that our people are amassing. When I talk, the last time I talked to somebody, you talk like a socialist or a communist. I said, no, this don't make sense to me. It doesn't just make sense. Right. I want something good. I will fly business class. Don't get me wrong. I will not fly economy. Exactly. But I am not crazy about getting a private jet. I want to be comfortable when I fly. I want to wear a nice watch. But I will not have 20, 15, 20 watches, every watch that comes out to buy it. I want to wear a nice suit. But I need to work out. How many times do I wear a suit?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But some of them, you'll find them, no, they want you to go to the best tailor or designer from France, and they will tell you, oh, I bought a suit for $10,000 or $15,000. It doesn't make sense. And this is public money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people adore you for these things. They adore you. You see the young ones looking forward to be like you. So really, we need to reset the button.
Yeah.
And the way the button will be reset is that I believe, for me, in my own thinking, is that we must be lucky. A country must be lucky to have a leader that is patriotic, that loves his country, and also, wants to do good.
Mm-hmm.
Some just don't love their country, or they see themselves.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it comes out of, it's sad to say, out of luck. Because at times, things just don't make sense. You have all the equation right, everything for the formula, but it goes wrong. You have somebody who's educated, a professor in economics. He's done this, he's done that. You list it all and you think, okay, if he sits there, he'll perform, and he fails. You have somebody else completely opposite, and you think he suffered so much. And when they, I think they're completely different from us. They think completely different. So we pray that our new leadership in Africa, they will think different. They will be contented.
Yeah.
Saying, okay, this is enough. You have to say it's enough. Like food, there's a limit to what you can consume.
Exactly. So this is a great segue into one of my questions, that is a mindset hack. So you've kind of hit on it, but what would you say would be a most necessary, or something that you actually practice as a mindset hack?
Well, one of the things I do is I love my loneliness. Like here now, I am in Port Harcourt, and in my flat. It's not the best of time all the time, but it makes me think. I get my inspirations from my loneliness. I go to the beach every time. I jog and walk. These days I jog a little bit. Not much. I walk a lot. I walk for a distance. I clock about 12,000 to 15,000 steps every day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When I'm on site, I love that. I dress very comfortable. I'm always, most of the time, I'm on my t-shirt and my athleisure. Jeans this time, these days, the athleisure. So I'm very comfortable when I wear sneakers. So on my site, for example, if I do 3 rounds of work around my site, it's about 12,000 steps.
Okay.
So I get, if I'm in the Gambia, I go down the beach. Okay. When I'm on the beach, I get my inspiration, the waves, the water, it's, so that's where I get my inspiration.
Okay.
I don't meditate, and funnily enough, at times, it comes, because my mind is always at work.
Yeah.
At times I can be sleeping and just wake up and something comes up in my mind. So I grab my phone and just type it there or scribble it.
Yeah.
At times I'm under the shower and something just comes out.
Yeah.
So it's like it's been sent from above or whatever. But my mind is innovative. It's always working. At times I'm watching a movie, watching a TV, and something just goes. I say, hold on. Okay, look at that way the shop is done, the glass. Wow, that looks good. And that's an inspiration.
Sure. Right.
By talking to you, you are wearing your headphones, the way you put on your hair, whatever. So as I said, really, for me, the word is freestyle. I live in a world, especially at my age, where I am floating in the air.
Yeah.
Very open-minded.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Wow. This has been so great. I could obviously speak to you for a long time, but I don't want to take too much of your time. So before, you kind of started to talk about a little bit more about your everyday, but I like to ask a question about what you're reading, watching, or listening to these days.
I watch YouTube.
Okay.
I must be very honest. I'm not a good reader. People say, oh, no, you have to read, you have to do this. But, technology has helped us.
Yes.
So I have an innovative mind. So believe me, even when I read, my mind can just, go off somewhere.
Fly off.
I'm thinking about something else. But these days, what the tool that I use most of the time is YouTube. Because anything I'm interested in, I just type it in, in the net, and it comes out. Like recently, for example, we were developing our golf course. So we needed to get experts to come and design the golf course. And I said, hey, wait a minute. Why should I pay all that amount of money to a professional designer? Okay, we got somebody from Port Harcourt here. And all I did was every evening, being lonely here, I just Google up, building up golf courses and just, whilst watching it, I stumped into so many things. The way Tiger Woods designed his own his private golf course.
Sure.
Today, that's what the world is all about. Technology is at our fingertips.
Yes.
So nowadays, I'm into media. I mean, I don't know whether you saw my YouTube channel. I started last week a YouTube channel.
Yes.
So everything I'm doing is about media now. I mean, I invested a lot, on quality messaging, because I think that the best way to reach out the world today is through the internet. It's through social media.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I did, what Maya, I'm so Ghana boy. He did something on me. And it went viral, and it's trending now at about 1.2 million views.
Yes.
So really, look at the power of this. And I've had people reaching out to me from all corners of the world. In our graduation about 2 weeks ago, I had a Gambian pastor who was the guest speaker. And he spoke so eloquently and so well that 2 days ago, somebody said, hey, look out. Akon has, posted this guy as part of his speech, to Instagram. Akon has 7.5 million followers.
Right.
And in that speech, it's mentioned that, make TAF proud, make TAF Africa Global proud. So, so this is the power of social media. So this is something that really preoccupied now.
Okay.
How do I increase my followership? How do I increase, using social media? Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I thank you for allowing me to be part of that chain of information.
You're welcome.
And we look forward to seeing more. So we always have really good show notes. And so everything about your new channel, the foundation, your projects, we'll have links to that in the show notes. How to build a golf course on YouTube. So I want to thank you so much, Mr. Mustapha. I very much appreciate it. And I hope that, if I have a vision for doing some solution salons, so maybe you can join us on another conversation with other guests to talk about solutions in Africa.
Well, thank you so much, Florence. I mean, it's been a pleasure. I mean, I love meeting up, networking. And today, probably it's because of COVID that we know all these mediums we use. This is Quadcast. I mean, it's something new to me. I've been using Google Meet, I've been using Zoom. But this is what the world has done for us. So for me, for example, on COVID, not everything that happened with COVID is negative. I mean, most of these things that are happening now would not have happened if COVID didn't strike.
It's true.
Some of the meetings that have been going, okay, some industries are suffering, but probably, I mean, if I were to go to a meeting in Nairobi, Kenya, it will cost me about $10,000 to go there and deliver a statement as a panelist. Today, it's done virtual. It's done from my bedroom. So, yes, the hotels are crying, the airlines are crying, but again, innovation. So it's a pleasure to meet online. And yes, I am looking for more followers, on my YouTube channel. So because I wish to communicate everything I do now through my YouTube channel. I think I have a lot for the world to hear, especially the young Africans.
Yes.
There's a lot they can learn, and I would love to share. I love to share my experience. It's 45 years experience, and I'm still active. So I have a lot to share.
Wonderful. And we'll be looking out for that. So that's going to do it for this episode of Glocal Citizens. Listeners, thanks for joining us. You can catch us each and every Tuesday with a new episode at www.glocalcitizenspod.com on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. Subscribe, tell a friend, and give us a comment. We'd love that. And until next time, bye for now.